Solo leveling has finally arrived in the form of an anime adaptation that I have been wishing since I first read it back in 2017. Damn, I'm old. It's a power fantasy mostly enjoyed with your brain turned off. But I know you. You're smart. You enjoy world building as much as you enjoyed imagining yourself as an OP side character. And in this video, I'm going to talk about the power system, world building, and how the portals and hunters affect the economy of this world. So here's a little background on solo leveling, also known as I Alone Level Up. Yes, I Alone Level Up makes more sense as a title, but solo leveling fits more to the number one rule, which is the rule of cool, and that's the one we follow. It's originally a web novel back in 2014, then became a manhwa back in April of 2018. The story revolves around Song Jin-woo, the weakest in the world. This story is basically a reverse isekai, if that makes sense. Instead of the protagonist going to a different world, or a person from a different world going to ours, the other world goes to our world, or a reverse gate, without Chris Hansen being alerted in every scene. 10 years ago, random gates opened up all over the world. And inside these gates were dungeons that are filled with different kinds of monsters. But the only people who can hurt them are awakened. These are people who have gained supernatural abilities at the same time as the portals open. They are called hunters. Jinwoo is one of these awakened hunters, the weakest in the world. Why is he the weakest? Because once you awakened, you cannot become stronger. That's how you are forever, unless you get a second awakening, which is very rare. But Jinwoo got into a complicated scenario that allows him to level up, which means he alone level up. Is that clear? Makes sense now? So leveling? Good. Now, the power system is a little bit complicated because there's the world power system and then there's Jinwoo's power system. But here, I'm only going to talk about the world power system because half of the fun of solo leveling is finding out Jinwoo, the weakest in the world, to becoming someone who can rival gods. So, like I said, monsters can't be hurt by normal weapons. Only the awakened people can hurt them. Awakened people gain their powers just waking up one day and feeling a surge of magical power or mana. That is why it's called awakening. The power and skill they gained on the day they have awakened will be permanent, so no one can attain more unless they got the runestone, which is very rare and very expensive, but it gives you a new skill. But it's still a fact that every awakened has an unchanged power level that is visually represented as a number system, but it's not that much explored. However, we know that this number system is what divides each awakened into 7 ranks. The first is E rank, which are considered the weakest and only slightly stronger than normal humans. And they are pretty much useless at fighting against magical beasts due to how weak they are. As a result, they are usually viewed disdainfully by higher ranking hunters and typically receive low wages. Next is D rank, which is a little bit higher than the E rank in the fact that the D rank can survive in a dungeon. It is stated that D rank is durable enough to stay awake during brutal torture and even strong enough to withstand falling building debris. The only character with the rank of D are these two at the beginning and the best boy we haven't met, so they are my reference for this. Next is C rank. They rarely had any trouble out in the field. One of the examples of a C rank is Song Chi-yul, the leader of the Double Dungeon incident. Has a surprising amount of endurance, to the point that he was able to function normally even after the Statue of God fried his right arm off. I assume that most C ranks have this endurance because he is a mage type and is generally known not to be the most durable, and he managed to function as if he's not losing blood by the minute. Next is B rank, the middle rank, a rank that can easily handle a C rank but is miles away from an A rank. An example of B rank is Lee Ju-hee. It is said that you need 10 C ranks to defeat 1 B rank. Next is A rank, the equivalent of being the second best with the higher ego, able to narrowly dodge the Statue of God's heat vision. Some can even use telekinesis to control objects from a distance to a limited extent. Some are even at the door of becoming an S rank. The pinnacle of humanity. Mana levels are so high that they cannot be measured by manometer technology. It is considered that there are only few in every country. They are so powerful, it is virtually impossible to hold them accountable if they commit any crime. and it's even said that some has hidden classes that are very unique to only them, like turning into beasts, giving a teammate unique buffs, or creating an unbreakable shield and one that can even revive the dead. This rank has no limit, to the point that no one knows which S rank is stronger, except for a national level hunter, someone who have cleared an S rank dungeon. Since awakened people are the only ones who can kill monsters, they are the only ones who is qualified to become hunters. So, what are hunters? A hunter is an awakened license by the government, and they are ranked in one of those 7 classes. A hunter's rank pretty much determines everything about them: their income, their guild, their reputation. An S rank is at the top of the world, while an E rank is treated as trash or disposable. They are the only people who are allowed to go into portals, and because of the danger and mystery of the dungeon, we have people who are awakened but don't become hunters. Yes, not everyone wants to risk their life for money. Some people are just rich. Hunters have classes, just like in an RPG: mage, fighter, tanker, healer, ranger, and assassin. So let's start with mage-type hunters. They are the most adaptable, revolves around elemental spells, curses, summoning, and barriers. Each type usually uses projectile, mostly elemental projectiles. You know, the usual suspect: ice, fire, water, etc. By the way, lighting spells are something that only top-tier mages can do, like Masker Lazula. Cursed magic spells can restrain or negatively affect a debuff of some sort. Summoning magic is a rare type. Only 1 or 2 creatures can be summoned, then the user will be out of magic energy or mana very quickly. This is one of the reasons why Jinwoo is considered a mage type by the Hunters Association, even though it's more like an assassin type. Mage types are usually weak in close range combat, but still varies on the rank of the mage. Barrier magic casts barrier spells to defend themselves or entrap their opponents. Usually, when a mage is casting or using magic, it takes time or chant, so mage type are considered a backlaner due to how their power works. So mage type hunters are usually seen using a staff, ring, magic lantern, or a spellbook. Next is assassin type hunters, who specialize in both speed and close range combat. They are the fastest out of all the hunter classes, and this is a good matchup against the mage because of the ability of stealth, a skill that allows the user to physically blend with their surroundings and hide all traces of their presence, essentially turning themselves both physically and magically invisible. Assassins are usually seen using a dagger and the hidden weapon. Next is a fighter type hunter. They can deal large amount of damage to their opponents and typically engage in standard melee combat. They usually have fairly high defense and good stamina. Since they're brawlers, fighters generally use weapons like sword, axes, knives, and even their bare hands. The main combo is left-right good-night. Tankers are hunters who specialize in defense. Tankers generally carry shields and are tasked with shielding the rest of the team during the raids so that the other hunters can perform their roles compared to other classes and can take much more punishment in battle before going down. While their defense is their greatest strength, tankers can still go on the offensive, and the known skill of tankers is taunt. The vast majority of tankers can taunt their enemies, which magically induce them into attacking without thinking. However, it should be noted that this skill only works on enemies that are weaker than the tanker themselves. They mostly use shields, but some are seen with a sword or a staff as a secondary. Next are healers, hunters who are specialized in healing magic. Unlike other classes, healers usually serve as supports and rely on damage dealers to protect them in battle. Although they mainly specialize in healing other hunters, healers are also able to cast buff magic to enhance both their abilities and the abilities of their teammates. However, since they mainly use their abilities for support, they are generally at a huge disadvantage in battle. Take note that this is the rarest class of hunters. And lastly, rangers are hunters who specialize in archery magic. Although both mages and rangers attack from a distance, rangers specialize in physical and not magical attacks. As a result, they generally wield bows and arrows, and are tasked to covering the blind spot of their allies during raids. Unfortunately, this also means that they are at a huge disadvantage in close combat. These roles are very important factors of combat in this world. No one can get stronger utilizing their powers, but not combat. What I mean by this is their combat intelligence, their quick thinking, their problem solving in the dungeon. An example of this is how Jinwoo is the only one who understands how the double dungeon works in a room of more powerful hunters. It's safe to say that intelligence is not one of the skills that enhance during awakening. So how do they fight stronger enemies? Well, by the power of friendship, by numbers, and that's why it doesn't look like your normal power fantasy, and more like a war or group battles rather than one-on-one, even if each of them can't become stronger, but as a collective, it is a different avenue. Monsters, and even Jinwoo, the exception to most of the rules of this world, needs to work in a group. Well, he solo most of the people, but with his summons, I consider it as him fighting in a group. So what is the goal? How does the appearance of hunters, portals, and monsters affect the world? Well, it all starts with how the publics adapt to the change. As society grapples into the existence of dungeons, hunters, and portals, a new ecosystem of job emerges. Hunter scouts, agencies, weapon manufacturing, and even government bodies like hunters associations become integrated to maintaining order and harnessing the power of awakened individuals. The public's perception transforms and daily life integrates dungeon-related occurrence. This is mostly represented in the anime, that the portal is seen as more like an inconvenience rather than actual threat. And the cause of these nonchalant reactions to portal is because hunters are around, with the goal of protecting humanity from monsters escaping through portals and secure valuable resources within the dungeons. Driven by a delicate balance between profit and societal responsibility, hunters engage in strategic battles to prevent widespread chaos. Their mission extends beyond personal gain, emphasizing the pivotal role they play as defenders of humanity. But they are still humans, and they fail. Portal breaks happen, triggered after failed boss defeats. Posed as a perpetual threat, these portal breaks occur when the dungeon's boss remains undefeated for 7 days. It opens a gateway of monsters to escape into the world. Hunters, on the quest for both monetary gain and responsibility to safeguard society, face strategic challenges during these breaks. The battlefield extends beyond dungeons, demanding collective effort to prevent the unleashed chaos from reaching catastrophic levels. Portal breaks usually happens because natural resources come from the dungeon has changed the economic dynamics. It experienced a seismic shift with the discovery of mana crystals and essence stone. Mana crystal, a cleaner and more efficient energy source for traditional methods like oil or wind energy, become highly sought after. Exclusive harvesting rights bestowed upon monsters grants them immense economic power. The demand for these magical sources permeates various industries, driving transformations in transportation, technology, and energy production that changes the dynamic. Hunters, now economic powerhouses, wield influence in both politics and industry. The transition to mana crystals and essence stone necessitates adaptation in numerous sectors, from transportation and medicine practices to technological advancement and entertainment. The economic reliance on dungeon resources reshapes political landscape. As governments recognize the pivotal role hunters play as protector and economical drivers, Solo Leveling's world has become a tapestry where the supernatural is seamlessly woven into daily lives. Awakened individuals once feared now hold esteemed position as revered heroes and celebrities. Dungeons once perceived as existential threats are normalized, with society adjusting to inconvenience like traffic disruptions. The emergence of hunters, the utilization of magic resources, and societal adaptation to these changes contribute to a world both fascinating and intricately interconnected. As the anime adaptation unfolds, viewers can anticipate an exploration of this intricate dance between supernatural and the mundane, where the power of hunters not only shapes battle within the dungeons, but connects the fabric of the world they inhabit. And isn't that the reason why world building done right is so amazing? Even though the story is not the deepest, but the world where it happens is deeply thought out. If you got this far, thank you. Hit the subscribe button if you liked the video, and if I forgot something, tell it in the comment section. Peace out.